everybody, welcome back to the Daily Kerbal. I'm just looking at my contracts right now, pondering my deadlines because I've left this screen. We've obviously just been going so well with money and reputation that I haven't really had to bother with this. In the next game that I play, but maybe even in this one, I might tweak the difficulty a little bit because money and reputation has never been a problem. And I literally have so much money right now. I've activated a strategy in the administration building to convert most of the money that we make into reputation, just because according to the Kerbipedia, reputation determines the type of contracts that we receive, and I want to see what happens when we hit the blue, what kind of other contracts we get. But for now, I've been looking through some of these, see if there's something I want to get done, and I haven't really found anything. So instead, I'm just keeping an eye and make sure we're not running out of deadlines here. Like, the one that is probably the most urgent out of all of these is this one. I picked up a contract to map 15 asteroids passing near Duna's orbit. I have to launch a telescope into solar orbit, basically, and then just kind of wait. That's the reason that getting this one out of the way soon should become a priority. However, today I'm going to do something else. This is something that I'm doing just because it's easy. I don't have to build a spaceship for it. It gives me a chance to show you guys some of the stuff that I'm preparing to do in the future. I'm going to launch another Whitebird. Several reasons. I want to get better at my landings. I want to take another shot at that spaceplane landing that I tried to do the first time and failed. This time, however, just flying up to the space station and exchanging crew. So, let's take a close look at this. Up on the station right now, I believe we have a total. I can check this out. Hang on, not here. Sorry, here. I can go in and I can take a look at my assigned Kerbals, and I can tell you that I have currently on the Kerbal station we have Cathfred, we have Samri, that's 2. We have Jogard, we have Mirbart, and Jedrim. None of these other guys. Francomax, Ike, and then Sean's Ike Station. Yep. Okay, so that means we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Kerbals up there. 4 of which, are pilots. That can't be right. Jedrim's pilot. He's on Dinkelstein. Pilot. 4 pilots and an engineer. So I guess we don't really need a scientist up on that station because we don't have any science to transmit back home. But I also like to take a look here every now and then. If there's a Kerbal with relatively high courage and relatively low stupidity to match, then I like to hire them. I do, however, have 10 Kerbals available for assignment, and again, the one thing that I'm in big shortage of is pilots right now. But that's okay, because I'm going to bring back a bunch of pilots right now from the space station and exchange them with others. So let's select the Whitebird here. This is the pad launch version. Eventually I'm going to be doing this in a single stage to orbit version, I'm sure, but for now we're just going to do it like this. And then who do we want to fill here? We're going to basically take a replacement crew up there and bring everybody who's been up there back to gain XP and the like. So I'm going to send up Leanie Kerman as the resident scientist of the space station. I'm going to, so we have lots of scientists, so we kite them on as well. As for engineers, our possibilities are either Tangan or Jofrod. Neither of them are going to gain experience from this, so I guess it might as well be Jofrod. No, let's make it be Tangan, because I'm going to take Tangan with us because I want Jofrod to eventually make a trip to Duna and then get even more XP. She's not going to get that much XP relative to how much she already has. Then we're going to take 2 pilots with us. And the reasons for that should be pretty obvious once we get up there. Pilots are going to be Brooke, who just came back from Minmus, and Durster. 2 of these guys. Durster is going to become the new Kerbal Station commander. These are going to be the resident crew. She's going to pilot one of the vessels that we have up there. I like thinking about this kind of stuff. I mean, these guys are all just kind of, blank slates, but they're my guys. I love these guys. Every bit of success that I have in this game, I owe to them. They're the ones who pilot my vessels, who bring my science and keep my stuff from breaking. So let's do it. Let's send these guys up to the space station, and then let's try to perform another one of those landings I am so infamously great at. Things like this, they kind of make me wonder how the space shuttle launch work. I imagine, because if I put every time I try to do something like this, right? Like I try to launch a. This is what makes sense to me because flying and taking off and doing SSTO flights is extremely hard for me. I can't get it done properly. I haven't yet. I'm gonna practice off camera. In fact, I might even practice on camera sometimes so you guys can see me fail miserably. But this is the only way I know how to get space planes out into space. Landing them, interestingly, is a lot more easy. Okay, enough talk. Let's get her up there. Using somewhat less fuel, I have been able to take the cost of our spacecraft down from like 17,000, was it? Yeah, I think we're flying like 170,000, sorry, 170,000 crafts. I've taken them down. This one is 156. And we get a lot of it back because we land all of that. This is actually not that expensive, this part. This is the part here that takes up like 100,000 credits worth of this entire craft. And it does tend to have some stability problems, as you're probably seeing, and I'm not even pushing us in the right direction because this this thing is not oriented in the direction that most other rockets are. There, I kind of got to get used to that. So anyway, the Whitebird Mark II is basically just a passenger carrier. However, we are going to very soon run into the problem of us needing to carry fuel back up to the Kerbal station, because I just sent a spaceship up there that's going to be heading to Duna soon, and I had to obviously refuel it because it used most of its fuel to get into orbit. And that means that we're slowly but surely running out of fuel on the Kerbal station, so fuel tanker missions are going to have to take place in the near future. I guess I have to turn stage U off because I can't see my fuel otherwise. Alright. Another thing I've been thinking about doing is it might just probably be time for me to start trying to do some fun stuff. So far, the stuff that I have been doing is, you know, relatively what the game designers kind of intended us to do with the game, which is just do space flights. You know, honestly, that is what this game is the best at. I've probably talked about that before, but I honestly don't find the management aspects of this game to be at all engaging. There's very little that I ever even needed to use them for. I imagine, like, if I had increased difficulty, for example, that would have made it a lot more useful. In fact, I probably should do that now that I think about it. I forget that the game on its own is already so difficult that I forget that changing the difficulty is even a possibility. But I probably should try to play this game at little harder levels. I can even do that mid-game now that I think about it. So maybe I'll do that. But another thing that I want to do is just to kind of have fun, is I want to experience life through the eyes of my Kerbals. Right now it's not that exciting because all they can see is this inside of the fairing. But you know, just simple things like, I don't know, performing an orbit and a docking, for instance, from entirely a cockpit view. That's something that I would really like to give a shot one time. If I get a little bit more advanced, then perhaps performing maybe not an entire moon flight, but a moon landing from merely an internal cockpit view. Performing, you know, so-called nostalgia missions. Stuff that I have already done a million times, but because the Kerbal Space Program is swimming in cash, maybe just, you know, in order to keep the Kerbals on the planet entertained and keep their faith in the space program up and running, maybe I could just do more of these moon missions for publicity stunts. Pick up some contracts to do along the way, you know, get some Kerbals some experience. Get a bunch of new Kerbals on board and have them do it. Alright. Oops. Whitebird is go. I'm very much in love with this spacecraft, by the way. So yeah, those are the ideas I've been toying around with. I don't get a lot of views on YouTube. Many of these times when I make these videos, I kind of feel like I'm talking to myself, like barely anybody ever hears me. But on the off chance that you happen to pick up the series at this particular point, you like watching me suffer through this kind of stuff, then by all means, please voice what you would like to see me try and record. Would you like to see me try and perform a moon landing or a space flight, or, you know, a particular type of space flight from an internal cockpit view entirely? Does any of that stuff sound like something you would gladly watch? You know. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Because I'm very enthusiastic about the idea. Here we go. Our camera has stabilized. I mean flipped, which means that our orbit has stabilized. We have a stable orbit. Alright. Now, next up we're going to have to dock. The reason this is going to become a problem is because I literally can't remember if I even have any docking ports available. So just, you know, to check that out, I'm actually going to switch to the station right now. We're not going to be able to revert the space plane anymore, but that's okay. Yeah, this is what I was worried about. This station is very crowded right now. I'm going to have to start thinking about what to do with some of these spaceships. Like this one, for example, we almost don't even need anymore. I've literally never used it. I brought it up here thinking that we would need it to make trips in between space stations, and I maybe used it a total of 3 times. Maybe not even that much. But yeah, we have one docking port right now, and that's this one. So let's clear out the slot. It should fit. I should be able to get it in there. It's going to be tough, but it should work. I could alternatively get out and rotate this so it's not in the way, but you know what? We can fit in there. It's fine. Well, we'll solve this. This will work. I promise this will work. This, by the way, is the new spaceship. This ship is going to be heading to Duna. It is a ore carrier, but since our mission today is not about it, I am not going to talk about it. Oops. Instead, we're just gonna get back on with our mission at hand. Alright. So, that station is set as our target. We're gonna warp ahead. We're gonna we want to catch up to it. So, I'm gonna warp ahead to Periaps, and then point us prograde. Ship obviously is not particularly... Ooh, interesting bug. I love this so much. I have a plane that's flying in space. Oh man. It just looks cool. I'm sorry. I like that. I'm basically flying the space shuttle right now. Alright, come on. Give us the intersect. There we go. Seems about right. Incline is negligible. But as long as we're here, we might as well try to fix it. Point us anti-normal. We're literally right there at the node, so it should take us no effort at all. Alright. Can even actually, if I want to be extremely meticulous, it is as close to perfect right there as it's ever going to get. Now, we fast forward. In case you're joining us, by the way, this is how we, you're brand new here, this is how we perform rendezvous. I've done this a bunch of times, I've done it off camera. If you've maybe not seen some of my earlier videos on how I do rendezvous, then I'll give a brief explanation right now. So, once I get 2 orbits, basically what I try to do is I try to just circle around until they meet each other. How I can do that is the game has this handy little intersect mechanic that kind of helps you identify where it is that your orbital paths intersect. So I'm traveling along the blue orbit, the station is traveling around the green orbit. This is where the 2 meet. This is the closest point where they come together. And this orange spot right here, this shows me that when I am over here, the station is going to be over here. Now, because my orbit is smaller than the station's, the plane is making smaller circles around Kerbin than the station is, so every orbit I make, the station gets a bit closer. I'm going to continue doing that until this passes. This passes the intersect point, indicating that the next time we do an orbit, we're going to pass the station. And then when that happens, I'm going to get back to this point. I'm going to speed up, which should close the distance. This doesn't make much sense right now listening to me, I'm sure, but trust me, once I actually start doing it, it'll become very easy to understand. It's what I like about this game so much, is that it takes all those stuff, see, we're very close right now, it takes all that stuff about space flight that is all very theoretical, and you've probably, if you're like a space nut like me, then you've probably heard it said a bunch of times, but you never actually grasped it or understood why exactly it is that they have to do it. This game provides you the theoretical knowledge, the theoretical concepts within a practical example that you can actually sort of control yourself, and that helps you understand how it works. That, if anything, is I think the real value of this game, is providing a practical example, a practical experience for something that most people are never really able to experience. There, okay. Now we're gonna switch to our probe director. Watch, the intersect is gonna stay there. It's gonna jump all the way over there, and if I speed up now, then this is gonna start closing in on it. See? Now we're bringing the 2 points together nice and slowly. I'm gonna bring this as close as I possibly can. There we go. That looks like about as good as it's gonna get. That's an 0.5 kilometer. That's 500 meters separation. You can see it right there. It says separation 0.5 kilometers. And our relative speed is 10 meters per second. That is beautiful. That is a very, very good orbit. Very good rendezvous. This is the rendezvous, by the way. 2 spaceships in relative proximity to each other is a rendezvous. When they're like very close. So close that they can actually look out the window and see each other, that pretty much counts. And so then the next step that we have to pull off is we have to dock with the station, which means we actually have to take 2 objects flying at 2,000 meters per second in space and actually get them to collide. Now, our intersect is less than a minute away right now, so this is a good spot for me to correct our path. So it switched the target camera, luckily. And now what I have to do is I have to kind of push us towards the station. It's right there. I have to match up our speeds. And here's how I do it. You gotta kind of push these vectors together. This is my retrograde vector, the vector I'm headed away from. I want to push this towards the station's retrograde vector, which is over there. And the moment that these two overlap, it means that the station and I are moving at the same in the same direction, the same vector. Almost perfect right now. And I'm actually going to kind of just leave it like this, because if I try to burn in the retrograde direction anymore, it's going to slow us down way too much. But if I go back out to the map view, now you can see that our intersect is 0.0 kilometers, less than 1 meter, which means I will actually crash into this station if I don't slow myself down when I get close. Right now we're heading at 2.4 meters per second, and the station is 200 meters away, so I'm just going to speed up, bring us in nice and close. This can get a little scary when the station seems to be like going right up in your face, but now I'm going to slow us down to practically 0 relative speed. Obviously, we're still heading at, flying at 2,000 meters per second, but relative to the station, we are practically standing still. Okay, now I'm going to use the spaceship's re-entry control system, the RCS thrusters, to kind of orient me and do all these these little micro maneuvers that I need to do in order to finish the docking. All right. So first off, I'm going to fly us forward. I'll even use the engines a little bit to help push us forward, because our docking port is over there. I'm going to come on. Set that specific clampatron as our target, and our clampatron docking port is actually over here. It's stowed right now, but that's where this spaceship stows its clampatron. I like how the flaps even still move when I spin the ship out here. It's entirely pointless, but it does it anyway. Let's align ourselves. Okay, speed up again. We want to kind of pass the station now. Alright. We can kind of stop it now. Okay. Now comes the hard part. Gonna have to try and fit this ship in there. Okay, so we gotta kind of fix our heading a little bit. I had a very handy docking interface at one point that gave me a bunch of useful extra information about this. Okay. That aligns us properly. It's going to be a tight squeeze. We might not even fit. But you know what? I have confidence. I don't have much of it, but I do have some of it. Okay. Let's kind of move forward now. This is, of course, as is with most of these episodes, this is something that my programming teacher used to tell me back when I had programming. He would tell me that, yeah, I do technically, every time I have a programming assignment, I get the job done. And I get it done flawlessly. But I don't necessarily take the path of least resistance. There are, you know, most of the stuff that I do can easily be done in much fewer steps. No, wrong way, wrong way. I was using the wrong thrusters. Alright, there we go. Just keep pushing us forward, inch by inch. 1 meter per second. This is hilarious. Okay, the magnet's kind of caught it now, and we have a successful docking. This is becoming extremely more convoluted every second that goes by, but I kind of love it, I'm not going to lie. I think it's kind of awesome. Okay, so let's complete the crew transfer now. The Whitebird has 6 crew pods, 6 spots for crew, so that should be fine. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the new space station commander. Don't want to screw this up. So we're going to take Durster, place him in there. Alright, so from here we are going to take Meerbart and place her in there. And then from here, we are going to take Brooke, place her, just so I don't accidentally get these crews mixed up, I'm going to put her not in this crew pod, but in this one. And then I'll do the rest from here. We're going to take Leany and put her in there. Going to take Tangan, put her in there. And then we got Meerbar. Okay, so then the rest we're going to transfer Jedrem, crew pod, Samri, crew pod, Jogard, have that one, can't remember if Jogard is a he or a she, but it goes in there. And then I think, okay, we got 2 in there, we got 2 in there. Who did I forget? Oh yes, of course. Cathford gets to sit back while somebody else pilots her for a change. Okay, now let's make sure that I have done all this correctly. We got Tangan, Brooke, Leany, and that's all of them in there. Then in here we have Jedrim and Samri. Jedrim is the guy who brought this thing all the way up here. That's why he's a brand new guy. His first mission was carrying a spaceship up here, and now he's going to get to co-pilot, actually, the vessel back home to Kerbal. And I believe Samri is going to be the one actually. No, hang on. These guys are in the crew pod. Okay. No, here we go. So it's Meerbart and Jogart who are going to be piloting. And then these guys are the new space station crew. Yeah. Okay, so I'm actually going to transfer everybody in here into here. There, make sure all my Kerbals are in one space, and of course we need at least one crew member in the command cupola. I'm going to keep that one up there. It doesn't matter which one they're in, but that's the main cupola, so that's where they're going to be. And then I think that's everything, right? We got Durster is in there, and here we have Brooke, Leany, and Tangan. Those are the ones that we brought with us. Leany is one of the ones that I brought. I didn't, yeah, we didn't have a we didn't even have a scientist up here in the beginning, right? So we have an engineer, a scientist, and 2 pilots. That's perfect. And then here, everybody else. So that's the crew transfer complete. I'm also going to quickly contemplate, I remember how much fuel we have left roughly. I don't think we need to refuel. In fact, I might even consider taking fuel out of the plane and putting it in the station, just because I had to refuel this tank. This is going to be the tank that takes this ship out to Ike. Because all of the big fuel tanks here are already empty. I could believe most of them. You know what? Nah, we got plenty of fuel left up here for now. So let's just concern ourselves with the space flight. Let's undock the Whitebird. Now we can check one last time, make sure that we do have the correct crew on the station. Let's use more than just a small RCS burst this time to push us away from the station. There. Let's close that. Alright. Now, still kind of wanted it like parking speed. Okay, so now we gotta find Kerbal HQ, and we are actually at the perfect spot for this right now. Almost. So I'm gonna do another orbit. That might put the, might put Kerbal HQ, which is right there, right at the kind of like peak of Kerbal's Africa. It might put it in the dark. Although I don't think so. We want to bring our periapsis. Our periapsis is going to want to be like somewhere along this area. Like if we have to perform a slightly longer flight, then so be it. I think I went too far. But anyway, let's put our SAS to retrograde. Jogard is technically the most experienced pilot on this. Where is she? She's planted a flag on Minmus, that's why, okay. We haven't actually brought back anybody. Interesting thing to note. We've already completed a bunch of Duna missions, but we have not yet once, I believe, brought anybody back from Duna. It's going to be a serious first thing that we're going to have to do at one point. Alright. Once again, because I made a mistake, I'm going to have to do another orbit. Hopefully we still have Kerbal HQ in the light side of the planet for this. Just because it makes for very poor viewing otherwise. They're like right about here, I think, yeah. Okay. Still pointed to retrograde. We still have some sunlight. Just barely as it goes down, and now we slow ourselves. I might actually be able to wait just a little bit more because this periapsis looks like it's a bit too high. Like a bit too far away. Just a bit though, so let's circle ahead a bit more. I also keep forgetting about, you know, the rotation. There. That's better. Okay, we want a periapsis of roughly like 35,000 is what we usually do. There. That's usually our safe distance. So I'm going to quick save here. Just in case things go terribly wrong, as they tend to do when I fly things. And let's get ready. Let's get ready to perform our landing. Have us face the prograde direction. There we go. And let's also even us out. There we go. We are already descending. And the music cuts out here. Alright, can actually kind of switch this over to the surface view right now so our nav ball doesn't get screwed up. I'm not going to use fuel to slow us down at this point. I'm just going to let the craft do that to itself. I have us slightly higher up than you know, perfect horizontality because I want to kind of use the wings on the spacecraft to slow us down as we go into the atmosphere. Should be coming up pretty quickly now. Might be a little too high up. Keep us roughly there around 10 degrees. Can I get a re-entry burning, please? So I know that Kerbin hasn't ran out of air while I was up in space. That would be very okay. There we go. Starting to heat up. This is starting to get nice and hot. Alright, here we go. So let's try to use the Kerbal aerodynamics system to slow our descent. It's working. We are slowing down, albeit very slowly. This is going to be a good experience for me because the last time I overshot the runway so much so that I had to make a mid-air corkscrew. Successfully, I might add, but a mid-air corkscrew nonetheless to try and land the plane. This time I feel like I'm going to come up short, but honestly I'd rather have to fly a bit more than than the other possibility. Alright. How's our orbit? Apoapsis should be coming down. Yeah, it should be fine. Okay, Periapsis is moving forward a bit, so it's good, and it's right now at 31. We might actually end up flying all the way across the desert. I'd also appreciate if the camera flipped sometime soon, so I could wouldn't have to look at it like this. This feels kind of awkward. Come on. Come on. There we go. Okay. I much prefer this view. Okay, let's pull back a little bit. In fact, I think I might just kind of do this and then activate our air brakes. See if that helps. Slowing down is going to take a while up in this altitude. Air is not particularly dense here. Alright, let's get rid of those air brakes. They're not doing much. Let's just use the wingspan. This covers a much larger area than the air brakes could anyway. Take a look at how some of our Kerbals are reacting to this. We got Jogard and Meerbud who are kind of like, yeah, this is nice. Everybody else too is. Oh, Catherine's having the time of her life, even though she isn't. Yeah, so Samry too. Neither of them actually get to pilot the vessel doing this, but they're still both pretty pleased with the experience, it would seem. Admittedly, if I were in like the crew seat of a spaceship landing from a space station, that would probably be my reaction too. One day, man. Just one day. Please let Elon Musk's dream come true and let space travel be a commercial thing. I so desperately want to try it just once before I die. And I know that that's probably a very weird one wish to come from a person who is literally afraid of, gets anxiety on airplanes. Alright. No, we are going to come down very short, it would seem. Looking at our map, we're going to come very short, but it's okay. We'll just fly the rest of the distance. And I'll probably, once all this burn ceases, I'm actually probably going to just cut out of the actual flying because it's not that interesting. The interesting part kind of comes to a close once I get down into the dense part of the atmosphere. When I actually start flying the plane, it's just like a very boring flight all the way to the end. And then there's a bit more of a kick-up of interestingness once I get to the landing. And then that will complete this mission. And that's good, because if I know that I can frequently do this, this is going to be an easy way to get crew up to the space station and bring them back down. This is something I can do on a regular basis now. And then from here, right, the logical next step for me is to attempt to actually take off and fly into orbit without all the expensive rockets to carry us. I can feel the intensity of the flames starting to die down. Seems like the vessel is relatively safe in its heat resistance. And this is also probably the lowest percentage-wise of electric charge that I've had in a long time. I didn't put any solar panels on the spacecraft because I assumed it would burn up. Anyway, now it's also probably the time for me to activate our liquid fuel engines. I mean, our jet engines. I have a command set up, by the way. I push a command button, and that's what switches off. I have like a control button set to switch off the liquid fuel engines and activate the jet engines. So yeah. Also, now that I think about it, I should probably activate flags and then set the runway as my target. Alright. Can also kind of fuel up. I mean, throttle up. Okay, now there's going to come a part where for a bit, where the spaceplane is going to become increasingly difficult to control. Going to get into a part, some winds that are going to try and kind of fight us. I don't think we've gotten to that part yet, although I am starting to kind of feel it. Yeah, definitely feeling that the craft is becoming a little bit more difficult to control. But the burn has stopped, and that's good. Gonna want to kind of slow the rate of our descent, traveling at 700 meters per second right now. We don't necessarily want to go much faster than that. We do still want to keep going down. But yeah, this is the point where I kind of just fly for a bit. So I'm going to pause the recording right now, and then the next time I return, hopefully we will be around, the point where we're going to start landing. So see you in a sec. Okay, so as we make our final approach here, one of the biggest issues that I'm having right now is fuel. I'm very quickly coming to regret that not refueling thing that I decided to do when I was up at the station. My reasoning is obviously just I expected this to be, I expected to have a much shorter flight, but I ended up having to fly over, I believe, like a quarter of the globe. So yeah, this thing is not necessarily suited for jet propulsion. It's meant for space flight primarily. So I'm not even sure if I'm even going to make the runway. I might run out of fuel so early that I'm just going to have to bring it down on the ground, but we're close. We're probably not close enough, yeah. Okay. It was not the craft getting out of control, it was me trying to gain some time by speeding up, but I think I'm actually just I'm gonna make a call here, and I'm gonna try to land it now. I'm not gonna be able to make it to the runway, so we'll just see what we can do about putting it down here. So we're gonna have to use, again, the wings, kind of pull up like this to slow us down. Is that our shadow over there, that dot? Land isn't entirely straight out here, but, okay, tip down a bit, gain some traction, and then pull up again, maybe kick the engines up a bit. There we go. All right. Okay, it feels like I'm making the right call here, because I don't think that we're going to be able to. We might not even have enough fuel to do this. All right, let's get the landing gear out. Our approach is way too slow, but I'll just put up the air brakes here. That should slow us down somewhat. All right, get ready, everybody. This is going to be rough. Kick up the engines. Oh, yeah, clipped a bit. Okay, that's good. Okay, we didn't manage to land on the runway because we were a bit too far away from it. But we did manage to land. In fact, if I turn the brakes off, we might actually be able to just roll all the way back to Kerbal HQ. Considering we're still traveling at 200 meters per second, that's pretty fast. Should we try it? Nah, that's fine. We'll just bring it to a halt. Mission is still a success. I also realized that we have our speed set to target. That's the reason that we weren't actually going that fast. Okay, that's better. Okay, well, mission complete. Let's recover the vessel. And yeah, well done, everybody. We've completed a full crew transfer of the Dinkelstein-Kerbal Space Station. We got no science and probably very little experience. Jedrim got his experience for having done his first space flight. It's very good. And then that pretty much does it for this mission. The next mission that we're going to conduct, I think, is going to be the next step in our Duna operation, which is sending that vessel that I had showed you, docked up there at the space station, out to Duna, and then start doing some ore and fuel carrying. That's going to be the next thing that we do. For now, thank you very much for watching, everybody, and I will see you in the next Daily Kerbal. Bye-bye.